I'm Mark.
And I'm Kendrick.
And this is Movies in Black and White.
You got something good today. I'm really looking forward to this.
You know, we talked about the J.J. Abrams cut in
Rise of Skywalker.
And cut for Justice League.
Those. So, what we're talking about today is the leaked script for Collin Trevorrow's Star Wars film. Because originally, like we talked about, Collin Trevorrow was supposed to direct Episode 9. He split with Disney over creative differences.
Correct.
Apparently, Kathleen Kennedy, who runs Lucasfilm for Disney, was not liking any of the scripts that were coming her way. They were going through numerous rewrites, and it was just taking too long, so she scrapped it. Now I'm wondering what the fuck she was thinking after reading these scripts, because they have leaked online. Numerous versions of the rewrites and stuff have leaked online. So a lot of the stuff that we're going to read and talk about has changed over time. There's constantly new information coming out. But I feel there's enough that we can dissect a little bit and talk about. But it was, like we talked about before, how I would kill for a Zack Snyder Justice League. And I want to, if there's alternate universe, I would love to see an alternate universe that has that movie. This is now added to the list of movies I would have loved to see. While I liked Rise of Skywalker, after reading all this information, you can clearly tell why Collin Trevorrow got a writing credit.
Oh yeah, the two of them, Collin Trevorrow and
Derek Connolly.
They both got writing credits on this movie. Which, if you go on, we urge you to go on and find out about this. Watch a YouTube video. Go find the script somewhere.
Oh, it's on Reddit. The plot points are on Reddit, and then several YouTubers, like you were just telling me, there was a YouTube video out there. It's 2 hours long that breaks down the whole script, dialogue, and everything. Which I want to go watch that now.
And if you hear that, you'll see so much that they took from that script. As we joke around, they took stuff from the script and then screwed it up.
Oh yeah, they did. Well, they took what was essentially the best parts of that script and wove it into their own story with Emperor Palpatine and everything, but it just didn't work. It was clunky.
Yes.
And like we talked about, we liked the movie, but we felt it could have been more time spent on it.
Right.
Now, knowing what we know, this would have been a better movie because he spent a lot of time on this and he had a solid story, but I think Disney wanted a bigger, more epic finale, which JJ tried to give him. But this had epic in it. This had an awesome finale. Gosh. It wasn't the end of a Skywalker saga as a whole, like they were trying to sell Rise of Skywalker, which in a sense, Rise of Skywalker is the end of the Skywalker saga, but it doesn't make sense because Rey is now taking on the Skywalker name. Right. Whatever, I digress. But this one had some amazing good ideas that were fresh like The Last Jedi. I just think Disney was scared.
Oh, they were scared of a couple of things in this. If you look at the script, it's a bit darker.
Yeah.
It's a bit more serious than I think Disney wanted to go. There are certain things in this that make lesser characters more important. Mm-hmm. That make Finn, for instance, is the leader of the Resistance in this new script. He goes through and finds all these and converts all these stormtroopers into Resistance fighters.
Yeah.
Rose has a bigger part in it.
Oh, Rose has a way bigger part. Yeah. Which was one of my major complaints for Rise of Skywalker. She got like 5 minutes of footage time when she had huge missions that she wanted. Hell, the movie, from what I'm reading here, the movie opened with her and BB-8 on that mission to go infiltrate a moon base or something.
Exactly.
But the opening crawl alone is vastly different than what was in Rise of Skywalker.
Do you have that up?
Yeah, I do actually have it up. I'm about to read it.
Yeah.
But Rise of Skywalker, and we talked about this earlier, how it just started with this dead speak. Emperor Palpatine is back. It's like, why would you tell us that? Like, opening crawls in the Star Wars movies were only meant to give you like kind of like a brief synopsis of what happened between the last movie and this one. It was never meant for huge plot reveals like the Emperor's back. Like, why would you bring that up?
All of a sudden. Bam.
And then,
ta-da.
Like, one of my major complaints about Rise of Skywalker is that Kylo Ren was never really the supreme leader. He was still just Kylo Ren doing Kylo Ren things. Like, they give you a few brief things here and there. But in this movie, he is a supreme leader. He's laying down that iron fist, he is whooping ass at it. So the opening crawl starts with the iron grip of the First Order has spread to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Only a few scattered planets remain unoccupied. Traitorous acts are punishable by death. Determined to suffocate a growing unrest, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren has silenced all communication between neighboring systems. Led by General Leia Organa, the Resistance has planned a secret mission to prevent their annihilation and forge a path to freedom. From that right there, that should tell you everything you need to know about this movie.
Exactly.
That it was going to be one hell of a ride, and we got snubbed on it.
We did.
We got snubbed. And I wish, personally, the script would never have leaked, because after having read it and seen it, it changed my whole opinion on Rise of Skywalker, making me think, damn, I missed out on something truly special and that would have ended this trilogy on a high, good note.
That was better put together.
Yes.
Less, boxy, less all cut up and choppy and everything like that. I mean, and it incorporated a lot of the best things that were in Rise of Skywalker.
Yep.
I mean, they took a lot of those elements from down to the scene at the end where all the ships come in and save the day.
Yep.
I mean, it's a lot of things.
So that was supposed to be the big epic final battle of the Save the Galaxy.
Yeah.
But in this movie, there was a big final epic battle that took place on Coruscant that sounded so much cooler.
And it was an air battle and a land battle.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was, you got both fronts going at the same time. I think that would have been more what the fans would have wanted.
So now this is going to be the point. The one I'm about to read was the first script that leaked. And I'm going to read some key points here. The draft was dated for 12/16/16, which was a week before Carrie Fisher's death.
Correct.
And they obviously they were going to have to change a few things. Because Carrie Fisher's character, Leia, played a huge part in the story. This was supposed to be Leia's movie, like how Force Awakens was Han, Last Jedi was Luke's.
Right.
This was supposed to be Carrie's final hurrah. Obviously, that wouldn't have played out. And I've read the script changes that were going into play, and I can't find the article to save my life, but they had changed a few things. And we'll kind of mention the few things that we have read that they had changed in later script drafts compared to this one. But as a whole, it pretty much stayed the same.
Mm-hmm.
So here's some of the big talking points, and Mark, feel free to interject if you remember something different than what I'm reading. The movie opens on a shipyard with BB-8 and Rose infiltrating that shipyard on a moon where the First Order builds their ships, and it has Finn and Poe there as well, and then Rey arrives to come rescue them because they were getting into some trouble. Well, they end up exploding the whole factory and stealing a Star Destroyer, which would have been cool to see.
Well, they had tried to really explode the whole factory.
Yeah.
They didn't end up doing it because they were going to send it up to the rings.
Wrong, yeah.
And the plan went wrong, and the Order stopped them.
Yeah.
And then they ended up stealing. Rey helps them out, gets them on this ship, and it's barely manned.
Yeah.
So she mind controls the folks. Jedi mind controls everybody.
Yeah.
And gets them to get them out of there.
Which they use that in The Rise of Skywalker, where and they made a joke. It was like, oh, she do that to us?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And yeah.
That was funny. But one of the big reveals was that Rey had built her own lightsaber out of her staff and Luke's old lightsaber, which would have been so much cooler instead of her just rebuilding Luke's lightsaber. Like, even when we did a review for Rise of Skywalker, that was one of my gripes. Is like, why would you even do that? That doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Why would
everyone else has their own lightsaber?
Yeah, why don't you go have your own? Like, you're supposed to be your own Jedi. Why are you doing this? So they end up stealing the Star Destroyer, and then it cuts to the Knife 9, which is the Knights of Ren. The Knights of Ren were supposed to have a way more expanded role in this movie of hunting down Rey. Kylo sent them to go hunt Rey specifically. It
says they were supposed to have each individual was going to have their own personalities and stuff, and
not
one
just
was
be these voiceless, faceless.
One was going to be like the direct enemy of Kylo Ren.
Yeah, that was supposed to be the big bad at the end of the movie.
Exactly.
Instead of, there is no Palpatine in this movie. Like, there was never a hint of Palpatine in this movie. So after they steal the Star Destroyer, it cuts to, like we said, the Knife 9, and then it cuts to Coruscant, and that's where a huge chunk of the movie was take place. That feels to me like a missed opportunity, because Coruscant would have been so cool to see how it's aged and progressed since the original or the prequel trilogy, after the Emperor's been through it, after the New Republic's been through it, all that. It would have been really cool to see what happened to it, but the description of it says, no longer vibrant city, the new structures are built atop the Art Deco structure of the Old Republic, which was in the prequel trilogy. Occupied by the First Order now, they have a Citadel Palace there. Citizens are scavengers now. Hux is now Chancellor Hux, and is addressing Bis Kova, a traitor who helped resist still Star Destroyer. Kova is executed with a light blade guillotine.
Right.
So Hux is in charge of Coruscant. Like, he has more expanded role. In reading this and Hux's character in the script, he was way better in this than he was in Rise of Skywalker. What he did in Rise of Skywalker was very out of character.
He was incredibly Weasley. Yeah. He's been Weasley since he's been introduced. I mean, but he was so much more Weasley in all of these movies than he would have been in this script.
Yeah, way more Weasley. So then it goes on to say Hux and Commander Selleck have a meeting with several alien warlords. First Order has allies. They are aware of Rey being the last Jedi. Council wants to know where Kylo Ren is. He's off doing his own thing.
Right.
Hux only knows he has gone searching for something of great power. So remember in the beginning of Rise of Skywalker, we was off hunting for that tracker pretty much to find the hidden world that Palpatine was on.
Sith holocron.
Yeah, this one he went hunting for a Sith holocron that had some information that he wanted. Well, he's on a hunt alone for it with a Darth Maul-esque droid, which that just sounds cool.
Crazy.
And he's got beard, like stubble beard going on, indicating he's been on this mission for a while. And Kylo's being haunted by Luke's Force Ghost, which we never got to see because one of the big things at the end of Last Jedi was, I'll be seeing you around, kid. And Luke never appears to him. It's like, what a missed opportunity. That was so cool. And Luke's trying to convince him to go back to Leia. Kylo's big thing is he's going to be more powerful than any Jedi, even Luke. So he goes to Vader's temple, which would have been cool to see because we saw that in Rogue One.
Right.
And that would have just tied this together well. Like Disney's big thing is like, we want to build a cinematic universe out of this. We want to expand the Star Wars lore. Why not tie it all together? We barely got to see Vader's castle.
Right.
You know, Kylo going hard on some people in there trying to get to something would have been cool as shit to see in Vader's castle. Especially with Vader's old decor and everything. Would have been amazing. So he finds a Sith holocron, which reveals a hologram of Palpatine. Excuse me. There was reference to Palpatine, but he is nowhere near alive. It's just a hologram.
Right.
Recording for Vader. Palpatine is a contingency for Vader if Luke kills him. Vader is to take Luke to Remnacor, system to see Tor Valum, Master of Sith, Palpatine's teacher. Which, that would have been cool within itself to see. Because we always thought that Darth Plagueis was Sidious's teacher. Exactly. But come to find out, it was this guy. So Kylo goes and, the holocron explodes and just damages Kylo's face even more than he already was.
It explodes with Force lightning, so it tells you that it makes
Force
him
lightning.
Yeah, it makes him kind of look almost Palpatine-esque, Sidious-esque in his face. So he's very disfigured and very hurt by this.
Yeah, and then so it cuts back to the Resistance base. Leia's introduced as she feels what's happening to Ben. Chewie and a person named Lieutenant Connix tell Leia that the Kuwait team is back. They're shocked to see a Star Destroyer, which has landed onto the planet. Rey has a funny moment using the mind trick on the First Order officers who are still on the ship. Rey confides in Finn that she doesn't feel like she has what it takes to be a Jedi and can't live up to everyone's expectations, which she kind of went through in Rise of Skywalker too. Finn asks her if she still senses Kylo. Rey confesses that she's been having nightmares. Finn asks if it's Kylo. Rey says she can't explain their connection. Finn goes on with some dialogue saying you have to shut him out. He won't change. He can't. It's too late. And she goes, it's never too late to change. She wasn't giving up on him no matter what.
That was the words that he told her.
Yeah.
You know, that Finn had told her.
Yeah. Resistance realizes that the Star Destroyer still has most of its weapons, tanks, TIE fighters, all that good stuff that they need. Only missing pieces an army to use it. Rey's researching the Jedi text from Mach 2, which she had in Rise of Skywalker. Discovers that under Coruscant Jedi Temple there is a communication system called a Force Beacon, which just sounds kind of cool. From the Old Republic that can send a signal to 50 planets. They plan to use it to get their allies. First Order can't stop it since it predates Imperial tech. Rey's line is, hope is all we have left. Which, from that premise alone, that setup is already cooler. It's very much the dictatorship that the First Order was, and raises the stakes that these guys have taken control for a short period of time, and they've already wreaked so much damage.
Right.
And these guys are doing everything in their power to reconnect and show, like, hey, we tried to warn you when the Last Jedi was gone. We tried to call for help because these guys were bad guys. Exactly. Now you're living it, but they cut us off. But now we need to band together.
Yeah, and now this movie really calls to the fact that the people in the universe are finally tired.
Yes.
Of being run over by the Emperors, by the First Order, by all these people, and they want to fight back.
Yeah.
So.
Well, then the Force Ghost Luke appears as Rey trains, and that was one of my gripes: is why did Luke only appear once to Rey?
That's exactly
like why not? Why did Leia train her? I get that's what they were trying to do to give Carrie Fisher more to do in the movie since they only had so much stock footage, and they did what they could with it. But Luke being a Force Ghost would have made much more sense to train Rey than
most definitely
Leia. But he appears in front of Rey as she trains. Luke is pushing Rey to get stronger in the Force while he is pushing Kylo to let Ben out. Kylo makes it back to Coruscant. His face is all messed up. Mandalorian armor, which is Beskar steel from watching Mandalorian, is smelted and has been applied to his face, which that sounds cool.
Fighting for his life.
He confronts Hux and belittles him, saying he doesn't need tiles. He's pretty much still being the same asshole he's always been to Hux, which is good because Hux is just a weasel. Rey to Luke as they train balance. The dark suffocates the light. Light extinguishes the dark. Over and over again. How is that balance in the Force? Which that was a big point in this movie, and we'll get to it eventually, but Rey ultimately ends up finding the balance in the Force.
Well, within herself. Yeah. She is the balance of the Force. You know, we've talked about this, and going back to Freddie Prince's rant.
Yeah.
You know, okay, you can tell who's going to win by this. By who's going to win in the next movie by what happens in the last movie. Because you're looking at, okay, is the dark side getting too strong? Okay, they've got to balance that out with light side winning this battles. This, you know, the end of this, and I thought it was a good ending. You know, I know we talked about it in the the Rise of Skywalker review that we wanted Kylo Ren to have a happy ending.
Yeah.
And all these guys to have a happy ending. I'm like, no, you can't have that because she is the embodiment of the light and the dark. And that makes sense, but by the same token, you still, in her questioning, it's like, wait a second. None of this makes as much sense as we think it does.
Yeah. Well, for Rise of Skywalker, Ben and her who would have a happy ending would have made a lot more sense than this one.
In that one,
reading this one, it's like, Ben had to die.
He had to
go. Kylo Ren has to die in this one, and he ultimately ends up doing that, but we'll get to that. Luke responds with, I know that anger my father had too. Rey goes on to say, so my master, and his master before him, 1,000 masters so eager to tell us how to live. She's pretty much getting fed up with the whole, this is the way it has to be. Clearly it's not working, and she knows it's not working. Which calls back to The Last Jedi of, the past has to die, let it die. Kylo Ren's big MO. And she seems to have picked up on that. And the rest of the exchange between Rey and Luke is basically Rey trying to back away from being a Jedi. She admits she is a no one, and Luke trying to convince her. He says the Force is speaking to her, which ultimately you end up finding out she really is a no one. You find out her last name in this one. She's like Solana, something like that. She's not a Palpatine. Nobody. She's literally a nobody, and I think that would have ultimately worked, especially in the script. It would have worked so much better than trying to ham-ha us with, Palpatine had a kid that you never knew about. And
they shoehorned. The more you read this and the more you look at the Rise of Skywalker, they shoehorned a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, they pushed hard.
Oh my gosh.
Back to Kylo, he and Hux continue to snipe at each other. Kylo says he's leaving again, but not before telling Hux the power he discovered will make destroying planets insignificant. Kylo's last order to Hux, find the Resistance, wipe them out, leave the girl to me. So then this is where they split up into two teams. Like the Resistance gets their missions and they go into two teams. So Team A is Rose, Finn, R2, and 3PO, going to Coruscant to light the beacon. Team B, which is Rey, Poe, and Chewie, going to a planet to find someone to help Rey figure out what she needs to do. Kylo is going to a Sith planet, Remnacor, but before he leaves Coruscant, he takes Vader's mask and says he understands Vader now. You allowed the love to cloud your judgment, and he throws Vader's mask off a balcony and shatters. Pretty much him saying, I'm no longer going to follow your steps. I'm doing my own thing, which would have been cool within itself, too, which they took in Rise of Skywalker of that mask shattering.
Right. Going back to Remnacor. Remnacor is actually in the animated series and comic books and stuff. They said it was more of an ethereal place. It existed in the Force, but not really inside the galaxy, out in the universe. Really, it was a place you could go to in the Force.
Yeah,
and they end up both getting led there.
Yeah. Well, okay, so Leia stays at the base overseeing the Resistance. Before Rey leaves, she and Leia have an exchange, which obviously, like we talked about, this was before Carrie Fisher died.
Right.
Where Rey, I wonder if she would have lived, if this would have been this movie they would have made. I bet that was part of the problem, too, was
I bet
Collin Trevorrow was running into a wall having to rewrite this movie without Carrie Fisher in mind. When a big part of the movie had Carrie Fisher in its place.
I agree.
They have a conversation about if they're still good in Kylo. Leia is skeptical, but Rey believes in her Jedi training. Leia says, you're not like my father or my brother. You're new. Whatever happens, remember the Force chooses you, Rey. Your story isn't written by anyone else. So clearly the Force is acting through this nobody in a really good way, and like we're about to get to, Rey gets some cool shit happening with her.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to have seen that double-bladed staff.
Oh, yeah.
So here's where stuff starts to really run through this script, because they start to summarize a whole lot more. So I'm going to skim through this as fast as I can. We'll add notes as we go. First Order tracks down stolen Star Destroyer to Koroloff, where the Resistance was. They escape. Team A successfully infiltrates the Jedi Temple and turn on the beacon, cut to different places around the galaxy receiving the signal. There was a boss cameo.
Yes.
Which would have been cool.
That would have been nice, too.
But actually, sad little note, the guy that played Bosk in Empire Strikes Back, he died. Yeah, just a day or so ago.
Yep.
It is then cut off by the First Order. Team A then flee into the underbelly of Coruscant. Team B are being pursued by the Knife Nine, which is the Knights of Ren ship, and eventually reach the planet Bonadon. Kylo reaches Remnant Core and confronts Tor Valum, 7,000-year-old alien of unknown origin, spindly, intense, sinewy muscle, very Lovecraftian. Now, you can find this anywhere. They are posting concept art.
Oh, it's awesome
all
too.
over the internet.
It is awesome.
I've seen the concept art for that Tor Valum guy, and he looks creepy.
Right.
Like, he looks something like the Sith would imagine.
Yeah, he does.
Kylo begins training with Valum. Ode to Empire Strikes Back cave scene. Kylo fights Vader. Fight is brutal, and Kylo loses. That would have been cool to see.
Yes.
That would have been, like, just imagine Kylo Ren in his mask fighting Darth Vader all suited up, like the black on black with the red lightsabers. That would have looked so cool. I wish we could have seen
taking
that
on a former mentor, his idol.
Yeah.
And, who he threw away. He said, I'm not following anymore. Now he's
and then he gets his ass beat by him.
Still your daddy.
Still your granddaddy.
Yeah.
Bonadon. Poe takes Rey to see a seer who can pull information out of her memories. The seer pulls a star chart out of Rey's mind from her visions with Kylo. Knights of Ren show up and fight Rey in a lightsaber battle. She defeats them, and Team B escapes. Both Rey and Kylo eventually get to Mortis. Leia asks Lando if he will organize the smugglers and fight back. So, Lando was in this movie as well.
Yeah.
Which he was supposed to be anyways. Rose is captured and tortured by the First Order, but able to escape. Finn, R2-3PO start a citizens uprising on Coruscant around the First Order Citadel and Palace. Leia brings her forces to Coruscant to battle the First Order. Massive space battle, ground battle, Return of the Jedi style. Chewie flies an X-Wing, which would have been cool to see a big old...
In an X-Wing.
Yeah. Wookiee.
How would he fit?
Yeah. He's all hunched down and fur coming out the sides. Rey and Kylo battle on Mortis using Force energy that can pull from each other, kind of like how Palpatine pulled the life force from them. At some point, it's revealed Kylo killed Rey's parents at the behest of Snoke. Towards the end, Luke, Obi-Wan, Yoda appear as Force Ghosts to save Ben, but are unsuccessful. Ben is extinguished. That's kind of where it ends, but one final note that Han Solo did appear in the script and does confront Kylo at some point. Now, we actually end up finding out later that there was more script rewrites, and one of the script rewrites is that Kylo Ren did end up having a redemption of sorts. Ben came back to the light,
right?
In part because of all the other characters, and Kylo Ren actually had a new mask, and I've seen the concept art for it, and it looked cool as shit. Cool, yeah, it was cool as crap looking. But there was a lot more different details that kind of came out as time went on, and that movie just seemed so much better. And one of the other big details was you end up finding out that one of the Knights of Ren is actually a big bad guy. I don't remember her name, but she turns and tries to kill Kylo Ren, especially when he tries to redeem himself.
Right.
And they end up having the big fight with her, and Ben ends up giving his life for Rey again. Right. But they never really have that kiss moment. They're still kind of a platonic relationship, if I believe, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just seems so much cooler. Like I was telling Mark, I was like, JJ could have literally taken that script, and if he was so dead set on keeping the Palpatine surprise, like keeping Palpatine in that movie, he could have had a clone of Palpatine, like a younger clone of Palpatine, been one of the Knights of Ren hidden the whole time.
Yes.
And kind of just, manipulating from the shadows, and then being like, hey, I've been here this whole time. I was still the one puppeting Snoke. I may not be the original Palpatine, but I got his spirit inside me. I'm going to rule the galaxy. You've already set everything in place for me. And then still had that epic final Palpatine battle. Like, yeah, he was still the big bad, and it would have made a whole lot more sense than, Palpatine's back from the dead, everybody. Woo woo! Like, no.
Yeah, and there's, like I said, there's another one that there's some rewrites on it where Rey is beating Kylo Ren, and he's about to die, and he stretches out his hand and starts just absorbing the life force out of her.
Yeah.
and you see him heal himself. The armor falls off of him, and it's all new skin and everything like that underneath. And
kind of
he's
like they
killing
did
her.
Rise of Skywalker, when she gave him some of her life force and his face healed. But
this was more
strenuous. Yeah. A big plot point in some of the other scripts we read, some of the script rewrites we read, is that Rey found the balance. She balanced the light and the dark side of the Force inside of her. She was the middle ground. She was the Jedi at that point in time. And the movie was supposed to end with Rey on a planet teaching the next generation of Jedi. Okay, she was and one of the concept art pieces I saw was her turning around and walking down a field of grass, and there was kind of like Hobbit style houses coming out of the ground, but more intricate.
Right.
With, you could see younglings training in the background.
Okay.
And, one of the big things was you saw in the final battle, the Force Ghost appeared to her to help her, and they told her, you are the balance in the Force. You are the new Jedi. You are what this has always needed to be. The balance, the middle between light and dark. Mm-hmm. And that would have been so much more, I guess, a finale that you needed than what we got. Because you never really explicitly said, like, oh, everybody told us she was the balance. But it was never really shown that she was the balance. And this one, she had her own internal thing where it showed that she became the middle between the light and the dark. Mm-hmm. Which she was always kind of building towards, because she was always trying, like in Last Jedi and The Force Awakens, she was always trying to be a good light person.
Well, she was.
And she was drawn to the
darkness.
Yes.
Exactly. I think, honestly, I do believe they told us this, and they kind of showed us in Rise of Skywalker that she was the middle.
Yeah.
And that she was not necessarily the Jedi, but the balance of the Force.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't want to call her a Jedi, but it's like, okay, she was
the
both
middle
sides.
Yeah.
So it made sense in that aspect that
this was more of a finite ending than in the Rise of Skywalker, because this showed that she found the middle ground. There was no reason to fight anymore between Sith and Jedi, because she found the middle. She found the median that everybody could follow then, to where there would be no need for Sith or Jedi anymore.
Right.
She found where the peace was, where the balance was.
And if she could go on from that point teaching those younglings,
then there would never be a need for it.
Exactly. There would be no two sides.
So they could, like I said, if they really wanted this to be the end of the Skywalker saga, this is how it should have been. Right. She should have been her own person. She shouldn't have taken on the Skywalker name. She should have just been Rey Solana. She should have... Kylo Ren should still have died. This would have made more sense in this one, like we talked about already.
No Palpatine connection.
Connection. And like I said, even if they did want the Palpatine connection, I came up with that on the spot. Like, you could have just... They could have done something like that. Not just, yep, he's back. Fuck it, we're going there. I'm like, cool. Alright, I'm in. And now realizing what I realized, I'm not in anymore. I'm a little upset.
No, yeah. I would say this is hindsight's 20/20, but man... new information gives you a better perspective of things.
Well, one of the things that bothered me, and I read this comment, and it really sat with me, was that somebody wrote, oh, well, no wonder they didn't trust him. This is the mastermind behind Book of Henry, which was Collin Trevorrow's movie between Jurassic World and what was supposed to be Episode 9. And it was not a very well-received movie. I haven't seen it.
I haven't either.
But I've read the plot, and it seemed like a decent flick. But you shouldn't judge somebody just based off one movie. Every director has that one movie that just people don't care about. That one failure. Now, Episode 9 is JJ's one failure by comparison to his other movies. Exactly. So everybody's always going to have that one movie that they're just like, damn, I could have done better with that one. So you can't... I mean, that's not fair to say to Collin Trevorrow, because he brought back a franchise that had been sitting in dust for years... being Jurassic Park, and turn it into Jurassic World and a $1 billion franchise, in which he's now about to return to for the third movie.
Exactly.
Which I think he also had a hand in writing the story, or giving the story details that he wanted to the second movie's director, J.A. Barano, and saying, okay, this is where I need you to go for the third one, because he was kind of the mastermind behind it. And that's what I told you that was needed for the Disney movies to have succeeded, was that mastermind behind all three, saying, this is what we need to do. And that guy's a writer. He knows what he's doing. And that just proved even more. And JJ's a good writer too. But I think they try to do a hodgepodge, quick, shamble, oh my god, we're in deep water, we need to get this going type mess. And we ended up with Rise of the Skywalker.
Yeah. And it was, I mean, like you said, knowing what we know now, it was a mess.
Yeah. It was a mess. I mean, we already knew it was kind of a mess. Like we said, the first half was just rough. It was cut and just constant.
All
and
over
then
the place.
Come to find out, I actually read an article today saying the reason it was such a mess is because there was so many reshoots on there. They were trying to simplify it and dumb it down. No, you don't need to dumb that down. You need to give me as much disposition and exposition you can possibly give me to make this make sense. People are not as stupid as you think they are. Give them whatever you need to give them to sell them on this bullshit you're trying to sell me. And it would have been okay. But no, and like we talked about, it needed that 3-hour runtime. I think Rise of Skywalker would have been good if you gave it the 3-hour runtime or longer. You would have given us the exposition, disposition we needed. And you would have spent a little more time finessing the story details.
I agree.
Having stolen what they stolen from this script and turning it into their own stuff, this was better. You could have just taken that script, rewrote Leia scenes to make it work, and then interjected Palpatine if they were so dead set on that, and it would have worked well. You needed more of what this movie was going for, and like we talked about,
script was
it felt like a tonal shift from what Force Awakens was and Last Jedi was.
Yes.
It was a shift, and it showed. This one felt more in line with those movies, which was surprising. It could have been a great movie. It could have probably been one of the better Star Wars movies in the saga.
By looking at that and looking at the concept art, I mean, man, yeah, it would have been a great movie.
I would have just been thrilled to see Finn leading that charge on Coruscant.
Certainly.
Well, another big one that I read too, and I'm amazed that it didn't show it in there, but when Hux knew they were about to lose and Finn was leading that charge on Coruscant, he killed himself with a lightsaber, Japanese,
which was
Harakiri style.
Which was whose lightsaber?
Mace Windu's lightsaber, which would have been really cool. And then the other guy could still hear Mace Windu in my head going, "Yeah, motherfucker!" But it depresses me seeing this again because, like I told you, one of my least favorite things about the film industry is that you have such opportunities and they put it to shambles because they're so concerned about making money. You should just be concerned about making a good movie. If you make a good movie, people are gonna show. They are gonna show. It's been shown time and time again. And studios have been shown to be wrong on numerous occasions. They didn't think Deadpool was going to be a financial success. They weren't willing to back a rated R Logan movie.
Right.
They weren't willing to give Zack Snyder his time for Justice League. They weren't, I mean, it just, the list goes on. And yet, it's shown time and time again that they are just wrong. Everybody always said, there's never going to be an Avengers movie because it's impossible to pull off. And now look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is the number one highest grossing franchise of all time. And you think Kevin Feige listens to anybody else?
For a long time.
Yeah, you think Kevin Feige listens to anybody else but himself? No, he doesn't. And it shows. That man knows what he's doing, and he doesn't take anybody else's flack for it. He doesn't take Disney's flack for it because he doesn't have to. Exactly. He leads the studio. You need more people like him in charge of studios that are willing to say, I don't care what it takes. We are making this movie a good movie. We are not just doing it for the money. The money is the bonus that keeps us going, obviously, but the movie and the story come first.
That's the whole thing.
That is what they are missing from here.
Yes, because too many studios lose sight of the art.
Yes.
I mean, movie making, script writing, all these things, directing are art forms. Acting is an art form.
Yeah.
If you take away the art form and you rush everything, and you sit back and you go, oh, how much does it make?
Yeah.
How much does it make? How much is it going to make? How much is it? You destroy everything good about a movie.
Well,
like you just said, let the money be the byproduct.
Yes. Well, I think they're in such a rush to make that money because the movie industry is hurting.
Well, yeah.
Because of streaming, because of torrenting, all that crap.
Right.
Which I hate it. It drives me bonkers. I mean, nothing will ever beat going to the cinema. But if you are making movies that are so focused on the story and representing a good, amazing movie, then people are going to start to understand, okay, maybe it's worth just going to the theater to see this and see instead of seeing it on my 12-inch phone.
Exactly.
Why not just go to the theater and see this on a huge screen like it was meant to be? And then maybe they'll realize that, if you start caring about the consumer more, the consumer will start caring about you more. It's just that leap of faith that you have to take and hope that they take it with you.
Right.
But unfortunately, because the way it is now, when you do put out those movies and they're few and far between, everybody else just thinks it's the regular, normal crap that you're going to see on every other day.
Right. And guess what you're going to do?
And people are just going to stream it. I mean, one of the best movies of the past decade for me was Dread. And that movie was so good. It was so underrated.
It was.
And it didn't even get a sequel because they didn't... I don't remember seeing much marketing for it. I don't remember seeing much of anything because they didn't believe in it. And it was a great movie with a great story.
Yeah. They didn't believe in it, I think, because the Sylvester Stallone version of Judge Dredd
am the law.
Killed the idea of the second Judge Dredd. That's all people saw was the Sylvester Stallone version.
Carl Urban.
He killed that movie.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And like you said, it was a great story. Mm. I mean, and people just like, no, it's been done. We're not trying this again. It's not a mainstream character anyway.
No.
But, yeah.
Well, it goes... I mean, hell... Rise of Skywalker was a cool title. I was like, oh, that's an interesting title. That makes sense for this trilogy. But then when I saw Duel of Fates, I'm like, now that's cooler. That is an
quick side note.
Ending
quick side note.
What?
Duel of Fates is a song
from episode 1.
Episode 1.
Yeah,
exactly.
When, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon were fighting Darth Maul. Yeah.
It's, I mean, which is so amazing in itself.
Yeah.
Because that sets the tone of that fight in the whole movie and the climax of that movie. It's like,
if that title would have came out for this movie, the bar would have been set really high because that is still like one of the best Star Wars songs out there besides the Imperial March.
Do you know that is still to this day the only song that has come out that the orchestra has created that was requested on MTV Live?
Really?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
It's the only orchestral song that's ever been requested on that. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, the London Orchestra, I think, did that, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
The London Symphony Orchestra, yeah. Yeah, they do all the music with John Williams, and they're really master musicians over there. They kill it every time. But I was just, I hate sitting here thinking about it because it's just like, what did we miss? What did this world miss out on? Because they were so concerned with making people happy that you gave us that which I still appreciate the fan service.
Right.
I'm not saying it shouldn't have happened. I'm saying you could have incorporated it into a fleshed out good story.
Exactly.
You hired that man for a reason. You committed to that man to do this job. You let that man do it. Unless he's giving you reasonable doubt, like how Solo was getting messed up by those, I forget their names. What were their names? The guys that did the Lego movie. Son of a bitch. What were their names? They were messing up that movie. They were just going with total ad-lib. They weren't following the story that they had been presented for the movie. Phil Lord and Christopher Miller.
Yeah.
They were just going for pure ad-lib, all that stuff, which it still could have ended up being a good movie. You never know. Maybe they would have placed together a really good movie. I can understand that at that point, but just because you didn't get the story you exactly wanted doesn't mean you shut this down. You say, okay,
that's right.
You know what? You're the filmmaker here. You're the guy I trusted to do this. You're the one that everybody's expecting to do this. Let's just see what you can do. Let's see what happens.
Right.
You should have just ran with it. And God damn it, this is the boat you find yourself in because you didn't do it.
I'm going to interject something here. I hope at some point in time that, because I've listened to this on podcasts, I've listened to it on YouTube videos and stuff like that, being read, the script and being the story being told. I hope at some point in time they at least maybe license it to be
like an animated movie or something.
Not even an animated movie.
A book?
Just a book.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Like a Star Wars story or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
that would have been really cool.
It would be great because even the people who were reading it, through on there, we skimmed over it a bit, but, they were going in depth on it. Reading through it, it engrossed you. I mean, you just sat back and were like, oh, wow.
Yeah. I think that's because we're so hungry to have an actual amazing episode 9.
Yeah.
And Rise, like I said before, Rise of Skywalker was a good movie. It was a decent flick. It was a good watch.
Right.
It's just, after reading this, this was so much better. It could have been so much more. And instead, you fucked it up. Like, I was behind Disney from day one when they bought this franchise. And I still am. I still think they can do some good. This is the one sour note for me. But damn if this wouldn't have been a better movie.
Oh, it would have been tremendously better. I mean, I think you hit it on the head earlier. The death of Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
Some other issues that were going on behind the scenes hampered this movie.
Yeah.
Hampered the making of this
Well,
script.
like I said, it's the lack of commitment. Like,
Yeah.
the studios are so scared nowadays. All they care about is making that $1 billion movie. Not every movie is going to be a $1 billion movie. You just got to be resigned to that. This would have been a $1 billion movie.
And ironically, Rise of
this would've
Skywalker is almost going to be a $1 billion movie.
Well, it is a $1 billion movie, but this would have been maybe a $2 or $3 billion movie. This could have been so much more, but you were saying, I mean, if, ands, and coulda, shoulda, wouldas. I mean,
that's what we're stuck with right now.
Yeah, this is what we're stuck with, and this is what we have to live with. Yeah. But it's just that what if scenario. Hell, Disney should do like how Marvel's doing with What If.
Yeah,
they should do something
this.
like that. Like, what ifs? Here's a new episode 9. Like, you know what? If Disney wanted to do something really fucking cool, they would just go and make that movie with Collin Trevorrow and say, okay, y'all didn't like Rise of Skywalker, let's do a redo. How do you like this instead? And see if they would. People would go for that.
Like you said, you don't want a big cinematic debut.
No.
Make it an animated.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Do whatever you have to do with that.
Or hell, make it a Disney Plus series or something. Yeah.
Something.
Make it a Skywalker or a Star Wars universe story or something. I mean, it could be numerous things you could do this with. And maybe they will, because Kathleen Kennedy, the lady who ran this whole show, she's leaving. Yeah. So whoever comes up next may have said, you know what? Let's do some crazy shit with Star Wars that hasn't been done before. I mean, Star Wars was a genre-defying, world-changing phenomenon.
Certainly.
Who's to say it can't be again? Who's to say this new person can't come in and say, fuck it, let's flip the script. Let's do this. And go make this movie and say, okay, y'all didn't like Rise of Skywalker. That's fine. Here's a new episode 9. You get to pick your ending at this point. Which one do you like better? We've made you both. You walk away. You can show your family all the other movies, and then this is your ending. Whichever one you want to give.
Yeah.
That gives everybody the choice to say, okay, here's what it was. Now, I do not, by any stretch of imagination, suggest this is a general business practice, but that would be something cool that would change everything.
Be cool. That would be cool. I mean, yeah. I mean, like you said, they're not going to do it because of the business practices. But
well, the money that goes into it too. But who cares? You know you're going to make your fucking money back. It's Star Wars. How the hell could you not make your money back?
Over the long run, you are.
Exactly. Star Wars is one of the highest grossing franchises in the world, and it's got less movies in it. It's got a fraction of the movies that, MCU has.
Right.
So it's going to make its money. Mm-hmm. There hasn't been a Star Wars movie that was a dud, ever.
Right.
Well, that's not true. Solo didn't make that much money. It made its money back and plus some, but not enough to warrant more, which, like I've talked about, I would love to see a sequel with Ron Howard fully behind the chair the whole time for script and everything. I think that would be a great movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be good.
But I think Kathleen Kennedy needs to step away. You need a change of the guard. She's up there in age. Maybe it's time some fresh blood comes in and takes over and says, okay, here's what we're going to do. So maybe Jon Favreau.
Hey, he's doing a great job with The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So.
I'd be cool with that. And he learned from the best. Kevin Feige, like I said, he is bar none. He knows what he's doing, and he commits to it. Now, he is flexible to change with it as it goes, but he still gives it the time it needs. I mean, how many times have we seen them push back a movie, cancel a movie or whatever because they know it needs more time in the oven before it comes out to the general public?
Right.
So they need to take more pages from his book.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a good point.
He is a once-in-a-lifetime genius that should become the standard, personally. But
well, no, I mean, he's got the Midas touch. Everything he's touched has turned
gold.
to gold.
Quite literally.
I mean, literally.
Yeah. I don't got anything else on this, Mark. I'm about petered out at this point. What else you got?
Hey, I'm not much on this film. I mean, we've made our points known, man.
Well, if you get the chance to find the script and read it online, read it. Take the time. It's worth reading. Hell, I want to find it and read it and print it out and put it on my Star Wars bookshelf just so I can read it anytime I want. This is what it could have been, kids.
Yeah.
Won't be that old bastard. But anyways, I mean, I want to know what you guys think. If you would have loved to have seen this movie, I would have. And I know several people that would have loved to have seen it. Hell, my buddy that saw Rise of Skywalker, when he talked about this, he goes, I was disappointed in the movie, but after reading that script, he goes, what the fuck? That would have been way better.
Way better.
Yeah, way better. So.
Oh my gosh.
Well, if you got nothing left, Mark.
Yep.
I've been Kendrick.
And I'm Mark.
And this has been Movies in Black and White. We'll see you next time.